Hello and welcome back to Larry Beatrice YouTube channel. So today I'm going to be showing you how to make this beautiful Caribbean skirt that we see here. So this skirt is trending now and I had a bulk order for it. I made about 50 pieces, so I just thought to show you how to make this as a ready to wear. So in this class I'm going to be giving you the measurements that I used. Okay, for example, if you are just making one, I will just list the length and width that you will need to cut each of your layers. So if what you are making is just one piece, then you can just go ahead and use measurements to cut yours. But for this, for those that are into ready to wear, I'm going to teach you how you can cut it in bulk in order to save time and for you to avoid joining multiple pieces. For this tutorial I'm going to be working with 12 yards of fabric to cut 3, because you're going to need 4 yards each to cut this skirt to get this fullness that we'll have. So I'm going to be using 12 yards on a stretch to cut 3. So for this now I have my fabric, as you can see, and as you can see from the pictures, the layers are just 3 layers. So what I'm going to do now is to just sketch out what we want to achieve first so that we can have a picture of it. So this is the band, is going to be 2 inches, and then this is going to be the first layer, the second layer, and the third layer of the skirt. So we have 1, 2, 3. So the first thing you need to note is the length. So let's say your skirt is 40 inches. You're going to deduct the 2 inches band from 40, and then you have 38 inches. So this 38 inches now you can distribute it equally among the 3 layers, or you can make some long while some will be shorter. It's totally up to you and what you want. For my own skirt, my length is actually 41 inches. Okay, the length that I use for my own skirt is 41 inches. So now if I deduct 2 inches from 41, I'm going to have 39 inches. And instead of distributing equally like I did with the one of 38 inches, for me I used 11.5 inches for the length of the first one, which was the shortest. Then for the medium I used 13.5 inches, sorry, for the medium. And then for the last layer, which is the third one, I used 14 inches. So these are the measurements that I used for mine, and if you had all of this, it's going to give you the 39 inches, then plus 2 inches band, you have 41. So now for the width, I used 80 inches width for the first layer, 110 for the second layer, and 160 inches for the third layer. So these measurements will work for you if you are using the regular Ankara that is complete 36 inches per yard. But if yours is not up to 36 inches, maybe it's folded in 33 or 34, then you may need to adjust this measurement. You can take maybe 10 inches away from each of the measurements. So for the length, you can see you will need to add allowance for joining. I added 1 inch to the first and second layer, and then for the third layer, because of Emmy, I added extra 1.5 inches as seam allowance. So you can see that's what I'm writing down. The first layer now is 12.5, the second is 14.5, and then the last layer is now 15.5, and that is the width. So if you are not into ready to wear, just use this measurement to cut your piece, and then you will need 4 yards of fabric to do that. So you just go ahead and cut yours. But if you want to do this in bulk, like I said, my fabric is folded into 12. So if you count this fabric that I have now, I have 12 pieces, which is 12 yards of fabric, and I'm going to be using these 12 yards to cut 3 skirts. Okay, I'm going to use it to cut 3 skirts. You can see I'm counting it. It is 12. I have 12 yards of fabric folded on the table, and I'm going to be making 3 Caribbean skirts with it. So the first thing I'm going to do now is to measure out the longest length, which is 15.5, which is the third layer. So I'm going to be measuring the 15.5 out of the 12 yards that I have. I'll measure 15.5. I'm going to make it into a straight line, and then I will cut it out. So once I cut it out, this 15.5 that I have here, which is the first one I'm cutting out, it will give me 1 second layer and 2 third layer, which means from this one, remember it's 12 yards, I'm going to be able to get 1 second layer, which is 110 inches, and then 2 third layer, which is 150 inches, because this Ankara is not complete. so I reduced it by 10 inches. Can you see? So now what I'm doing now, I'm going to measure out my second layer first, which is 110 inches. So from this ankara now, I'm going to grab it and then measure out 110. Remember, we are making 3 skirts, so now I have one piece for my second layer. So I have measured 110 inches and then I'm going to cut it out. So whatever I have left after taking out this 110, which is the second layer, I'm going to just simply divide it into 2, and then it's going to give me 2 third layer. But remember that what we have here is 15.5 inches length, which is the longest length, and the length for the second layer is 14.5. So before I keep it aside, I want to reduce it back to that 14.5. So what I'm doing, I'm measuring 14.5 inches like this, and then I'm going to make it into a straight line. So whatever excess that I have there, I don't need it, so that the skirt will not be too long. I'm going to cut off the excess fabric that I have. Then I'm going to set this aside. So that is 1 second layer out of 3. Then the remaining fabric that we have, remember I said I'm going to be getting 2 third layer from it. So what I'm going to do is just to fold the fabric into 2. Okay, you're going to fold this into 2 equal parts, and then you're going to cut it. So once you cut it, that's dividing it into 2. That means you have 2 of your third layer. That's 2 out of 3. And you don't need to adjust the length, because remember we use the longest length to cut this, so it's 15.5, which is perfect. So I'm just trying to check the length that I have there. So if you have full ankara, like I said, you can get up to 160, but this ankara is a medium quality, so it's just 33 inches. The yard is not up to 36 inches. So I think I had about 150. That was what I was able to get for it, which was still okay for me. Okay, can you see? I have about 145, 150 there. So you're going to set it aside. So I'm changing it to 150 because I'm not going to be able to get 160 because the ankara is not that long. So I'll set it aside and then bring the remaining fabric. So again, I'm going to go ahead and measure the same 15.5 inches, which is the longest length. So once you measure your 15.5 inches and then you connect, you are going to cut it out. So from this new set that you have, you'll be able to get 2 second layer to complete your second layer to make 3 skirts. Remember we had 1 before. Now I'm going to get 2 second layer and 1 last layer to complete the 2 that I have already had before. So what I'm marking out now is the last layer. That's 150 inches. Can you see? And I'm going to cut it out. So I'll go and add it to these 2 that I have cut before, and that is going to make 3 complete last layer for me. So I'll come back to the fabric, and then I'm going to measure out 110 inches in 2 places, and that's going to give me the remaining 2 second layer to add to the first one that I have already taken out from the first back fabric that I cut out. So you can see me now measuring 110 inches. So once I measure it, I'll fold it into 2, and when I fold into 2, I'm going to simply cut it out. And when I cut it, it means I have my second layer complete as well. Remember, we are cutting 12 yards of fabric and we need to get 3 fabric. So the leftover, you just keep it aside and use it for something else. So now I have these 2 pieces for my medium, which for my second layer. And then what I'm going to do now is to fold it again. Remember, the second layer is 14.5. So I'm going to reduce this measurement. We have 15.5 inches currently. So I'm going to mark out 14.5 inches from this. And then I'm going to grab my ruler and connect. Then I'm going to cut out the leftover. So what this means is that we have 3 fabrics to complete our third layer. We have 3 fabrics to complete our second layer. The ones that we don't have fabric for is just our first layer, and we are going to be getting that from the remaining fabric. So I will just add the one that I have cut before to it and then keep it aside. So now I'm going to bring in the last fabric that I have. So from this fabric now, I'm going to be getting my 3 first layer, which is 80 inches in 3 places. I'm also going to get my pocket and my band. So I'm going to bring it out now, and then I'm going to measure 80 inches. Can you see the Ankara is not complete? Can you see it's just 33 inches? That's why I'm reducing my measurement. You can even reduce this one to 70 inches so that you can have more fabric, because our Ankara is not complete. Assuming it's 36, you'll be able to get it. So now I'm measuring 80 inches, and then that 80 inches I'm going to fold it 3 times so that I can get my 3 pieces for my first layer. Remember, we are making 3 skirts. So this is very easy. If you are sewing bulk order and you want to make this Caribbean skirts in bulk, this will just make your work easy. You'll be cutting 3 skirts per time. So now I have folded it into 3 places, and then I'm going to simply grab my scissors and then cut it out. So the remaining fabric that I have, I'll just keep it aside, and then I'm going to be using it to cut my pocket and my band. This is going to have pockets. So now I'm going to cut it in pieces so that I'll have 3, and then I'm going to fold it. Remember, the length is 12.5. So I'm going to fold it and then measure out the actual length. So what I'm doing now is measuring the 12.5 inches. Can you see? I'll measure out the 12.5 inches and then cut. So the leftover that I have on top like that, I think is about 1.5 inches thereabout. I can use it to make my rope, because this is going to have rope. So I'll just cut that leftover and then keep it somewhere to make rope for the 3 skirts. So can you see how easy it is to do this? So now we have reduced it to 12.5, and then we have our third layer. So the remaining fabric, like I said, I have folded it and I'm using it to cut my pocket. For the 3, you will need 12 pieces of pocket. Remember, each skirt is going to need 4, 2 per side. So for the 3, you will need 12, and that is my 12. And I'm just opening it up so that I can see that they are all separate, and I will use my pin to hold the 12 pieces of pockets together. So now we are like done with cutting the skirt. Okay, the remaining fabric that you have is what you are going to be using to cut your band, which is that one, and then that long strip is what you are going to use to make your pocket. So now we are going to sew it, because we are going to be putting pockets by the side. If you are not putting pockets by the side, you can just go ahead and start gathering, but mine is going to be having 2 pockets by the side. And you know that I cut everything straight. I cut 110 inches straight, I cut 18 inches straight, I cut 150 inches straight. So what I'm doing now is slashing it into 2 so that I can separate my front and back. Then there will be seam at the side for me to add my pocket. If you are not adding pocket to yours, you don't need to slash it. You just have a seam maybe at your center back. But for me, a pocket is going to run through it. So I am picking each of the pieces. Okay, I'm picking the first layer. I will slash it into 2 and then separate the front and back. Can you see? We are making sure that it is equal, and then once it is equal, I'll grab my scissors and then I'm going to slash into 2. That's the second layer that we are doing. We have done the first layer, so I'm going to pick the third layer as well, which is 150 inches, and then I'm going to slash it into 2. So once I slash it into 2, I'm going to be having 75 inches each. So what I'm doing now, because I'm going to be gathering it and I don't want to use the method of first gathering it down, so I'm just folding my fabric into 4 and then I'm placing a notch. So this notch is going to assist you when you want to gather. I don't know if I have a clip of the gathering. If I have it, I'm just going to add it by the hand. So I'm notching it so that when I'm gathering them to each other, it's going to guide me on how to spread the gather so that one side will not be fuller than the other. But if you are the type that likes to draw your gathers, then you don't need this step. You can just draw your gather and then sew it to the layer that you are supposed to sew it to. But for me, I want to go and gather on my sewing machine, so I'm just placing important notches on them like this, so that when I'm gathering it, I will know how to spread it. So I have gone to gather it. You can see the second layer was gathered to the first and the third layer was gathered to the second, and then I have installed my pocket as well, and I weaved every part. Can you see? It is neatly weaved. I have gone ahead to weave every part of it. So it's very simple. Once you get the cutting right, you just gather them onto each other. So for this first layer, remember we have 18 inches. and 80 inches is too wide for band. The band that I cut is 60. So what I did was just to pleat it a little to make it 60 inches so that I can fit into my band. So this is my band. I have already created my band and I used 2 inches elastic for this band. Can you see? That is 2 inches elastic. I have a tutorial now you can create a band, but if you don't know how to, I cut out 3 inches like this. I cut out 3 inches fabric and I'm just wrapping my elastic round it. The measurement I use for my elastic is 30 inches because it's a one size fits all. So I'm going to be putting rope for people that have smaller waist so that they will be able to adjust with the rope. Can you see the rope that I installed? There are detailed tutorial on how to do this. If you don't know how to, let me know in the comment section, and then I'm going to drop the link to the tutorial for you. So once you have your band, the next thing now is to go ahead and sew it to your skirt so that it can control the waist for you. So I'm going to go ahead and sew mine now. So I have sewn it. Can you see? I have sewn it and you can see how beautiful it is looking. Then after sewing, you make sure to weave off the rough edges as well. This is what it looks like on the inside and you can see how neatly finished it is. So I have hemmed it with the hemming allowance that I left as well, and this is what the skirt is looking like. Can you see how beautiful it is looking and how simple it is? So this is me gathering just like I promised. So you can see I'm just using my hand to gather it so that I can be fast, and the notches that I have placed earlier is just going to guide me on where to, on just how to spread it so that you can spread evenly. So that is me gathering it on my machine, and I'm gathering it so that I can just do the work fast. So once you do that, this is what you're going to have. Can you see how beautiful this is looking? This was made for a brand. So if you're looking for a factory that can make your ready to wear for you, we make ready to wear for brands, and we do neat job. As you can see, it will come out really neat. The finishing is neat, the dress is neat, and everything is going to come out perfect. So I was doing this and I just thought, let me show my people how you can do this easily, and I hope you enjoyed making this with me. If you enjoyed this, let us know in the comment section, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.